Okay, here we are. Mike, what's up, man?
What's going on, Lebs? What you doing, man?
Nothing much. Man, I can't believe this is it. Our first show, our first podcast.
I know. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really pumped, man. So, hey, this has been in the works for what, a couple weeks now?
Yeah.
And just kind of talking it over and trying to figure out if we could really pull it off. So, everybody listening right now, just want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Caleb Robinson, and I go by Lebs or Lebrob or pretty much whatever you want to call me. And I want to introduce you guys. This is my good buddy Michael Flowers. Mike, why don't you say hi?
What's up? Michael Flowers. Yeah. Caleb and I have been friends since organic chemistry. Ran into each other. The only guys in the OChem class with jerseys on, and it just so easy from there, you know?
Absolutely, man. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out. I was thinking about this earlier. Shout out to Russell Franks, one of the greatest teachers I've ever had in my entire life. Dr. Franks, I hope you're listening to this, man. I'm definitely going to try to share this with you and would love for you to come on the show one day. What do you think, Mike?
Dr. Franks, man. Barca fan with the yellow card. If you get your phone out in class, or not a yellow card, it's a red card, you're out.
Yeah, you're out of there. And boy, we got real close to an ejection one day, and I was really hoping it was going to happen, but you know, like any good ref, he let the home crowd kind of talk him out of it there.
You got to let him play.
Man, all right. So why are we doing this? Why are we even doing this? Like, what's the point?
What are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, the podcast is Let's Talk Football, but there's so many things we want to expand into. It's gonna be primarily about football. You know, we're going to bring friends on, different perspectives, friends that watch championship football and stuff like that. But such a nice mutual love of music and, you know, humanistic perspective. Like, start with football and see where it expands.
Yeah, man, exactly. And the reason that I think we both kind of wanted to do this is because there's not a lot of people out there that can kind of take the perspective that we have. For instance, let me expand on that. You know, you root for Liverpool. I'm a big Manchester City fan. But because the fact that we're American, there aren't that many other football fans around. I mean, there's not a lot of places for us to be able to hang out and talk about the beautiful game. I don't even know that many Manchester City fans. I mean, do you even know that many Liverpool fans?
I've got some friends in my class. There's 160 of us, and there's 6 I can think about that have personal club favorites. But, you know, like you said, it's not as popular. Most people don't get it. You know, like, maybe there's an avenue in this too to expose more people to it, you know, and then a forum for us to bring people on and discuss.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted out of this, was just an opportunity for Americans to get on a show together and just talk about the game that they love, talk about their perspective of their team, what it's like to be an American, you know, that really closely follows a sport that's not very popular here in our country, and to live and die by teams that we've probably never seen in person or never seen a home game of our team, you know. And it's kind of crazy, this like almost religion that we have that other people don't understand.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing as sweet, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't compare. Like, I think it's really interesting. You and I kind of phased out of the NFL at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as organic, and it's just not the same.
It's really not. And one nice thing about following soccer or following football, as I like to call it, is that you can really stay away from all of the advertisements and all of the mainstreamness that you get here in the States with, you know, American football. And that's part of the reason that I love it so much. But anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit here about the beginning. And man, there's so many shout outs I want to give. I'm really excited to bring people onto the show. I'm going to go through and give a few shout outs to some of my friends that I'm hoping will listen to this and I'm hoping to bring on the show. I want to give a shout out to my friend Jared Ross. One of the best footballers I've ever met, and just a freaking stud. And I'm excited. He's a Man U fan, unfortunately, but I was texting him today. He watched the City game today, and excited to bring him on. And Nate Detterman and Dalton Miller. Just, man, so many people. Harrison Amburn. just tons of guys that I can't wait to have on the show and talk a little bit about your friends and kind of the teams they root for and what you're hoping, they could get involved in this.
Yeah, I've got some cool friends. I've got a friend, Michael, Nigerian heritage, knows a lot about Chelsea, knows a lot about the game. Also heard he's an amazing soccer player. I haven't been able to play with those guys, though, my foot. And Faraz, I actually don't know his origins, like what team he roots for, but, he knows quite a bit about soccer. And bring my friend Estefan on here. He's from Colombia, but he's been, very much a USA fan. Of course, my brother.
Oh,
big
yeah.
Fan.
Man, shout out to Kason Russell.
I know,
that
right?
stud.
Yeah.
Dude, I hope he saw that game today, man. Dude, I'm so excited to talk about the games, man. Just the games that happened today. Man, what an incredible Wednesday of Premier League action. Like, that's another incredible thing about this sport is the stinking games that happen in the middle of the week and sneaking them at work.
They sneak up. The games sneak up on me. I forget it's like 1:30, and I'm like, oh, we have a game in 30 minutes. Like
Yeah.
I'm not used to the midweek games as much.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Roll on what happened with City today. How was that? Like what you got to see?
Oh my goodness, man. So today was just the perfect example of why this is the greatest sport in the world. And why it can sometimes not be the beautiful game. I love that it is the beautiful game, but there was nothing beautiful about the game today between City and between Southampton today. So the game kicked off at 1:45 over in England where they were playing it. It was a home game for Manchester City, and it was just ridiculous. As you know, I'm assuming everybody that listens to this, or just about everybody, is probably going to be people that already follow the Premier League. So I'm going to do my best not to explain things that you guys all probably already know. So as you guys all probably already know, City is in absolutely ridiculous form right now, one of the best teams in the world. I've been rooting for City since 2010 when we were just starting to get good. Shout out to Zach Lampo at Christopher's World Grill for getting me into football and getting me into Manchester City. But anyway, so the game today, City's just flying. We're coming up against a Saints team that's been in just not very good form. I don't remember where they're at the table right now, and that's actually something that I'd love to talk about tonight as well, is just like kind of run through the table and look where everybody's at.
Okay.
But a lot of people were predicting like a 3-0 or 4-0 City win today, and obviously you could tell that the Saints had done their homework. Their manager, what's their manager's name? Pellegrino?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he had done his homework just like David Wagner had done the week before or a couple days before with Huddersfield. And, man, so many good managers in the Premier League right now that obviously are watching a lot of film and know how to beat Manchester City. And I think Wagner really laid that out, the blueprint, and the Saints really followed it today. And the way to beat Manchester City is just put 10, 11 men in the box, try to counterattack. If you can win a corner, you got a real good chance because City's one of the smallest teams in the league. We're not good at defending corners because we're small. We're not good at defending long crosses in from the outside and headers because we're small. And honestly, Saints probably should have drawn or maybe even won that game today because I got to watch a lot of it at work and City played terrible. So it was. I'm very thankful for Raheem Sterling. Last second, 95th minute winner, and I have to go into this real quick. I'm sitting there at work. I'm about to be an eye doctor in May. I'll be graduating from optometry school, and so I was seeing patients all day. I was treating glaucoma all day. I had my iPad over in the corner of the room, hidden, like kind of under a little area where I could just kind of go check on it sometimes. And it got to the 90th minute. And I didn't have any patient. I didn't have a patient in front of me, and so I was able to bring my iPad out and set it off to the side and look at it. And one of my friends, shout out to Nick Saxey, he always likes to tease me a little bit about being a soccer fan and being obsessed with the sport that nobody really follows, and a sport where men act like women, he says, and dive and everything, which is obviously I think a fair complaint that a lot of people have. And he came in right at the 90th minute or 91st minute, and there was 5 minutes of stoppage time. And I'm sitting there trying to kind of explain to him what was going on and how like it was a 1-1 draw at the time, and that's all the Saints wanted. They just wanted that draw. They came to the Etihad, started time wasting literally from the beginning of the game, time wasting the entire time, and they got the equalizer at like the 76th minute. And what was really funny is they had the naivety, I'm going to call it naivety, to think now that they got the equalizer. I don't know that if they thought they could come out and get the winner, but they were acting like it. Like, I don't know if they lost their discipline or if that was the game plan, if Pellegrino was waving them forward to, let's go get the winner. I don't know. They were really trying to play with us, and that was their big mistake because they came out, they played with us, they allowed us to start really moving the ball, and there at the end, we found space, and Sterling, so clutch. I was listening today, 9 points Raheem Sterling has provided Man City with late winners so far this season. So just an incredible story of somebody who's been really persecuted by the media and by a lot of fans in the world and just really coming through. So, man, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, man, like that's very bitter when he left our club. He was a teenager making these like insane wage demands, and we sold him, and got a pretty good fair amount for him. I don't remember quite what it was, but it was and like that first year for him was pretty rough. Like who was managing in that time whenever Raheem first came over?
We had Pellegrini at that time.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what it was. I mean, he was still pretty young. He's got all the talents in the world. Maybe it was just that raw, missing that like experience piece. But I've watched him this year. He's in all the right positions. He's making smart runs. He's rolling with the team. And I mean, I think maybe that's even a testament to Pep, though. Like we were discussing, it's a system. So my barometer for me, we'll talk about title favorites, but City's my title favorite, and that's because Kuhn went out for some time, and the team was fine. Like it's all about the system and the belief in that system and the recycling of the ball.
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about Pep and a lot of hype about Pep, and I understand that, and I think a lot of it is warranted. And you got to say, I mean, the proof is in what he's done with, I think Raheem Sterling so far is one of his greatest victories, because you could see that Raz was super just scared. He's a very like mental player, as in he can easily get down on himself. And I know that Pep has just been pumping the praise on him since day one. Raheem, you can do it. Raheem has all the talent in the world. Raz could be one of the best wingers in the world, blah, blah, blah. And he's never stepped down from supporting Raheem Sterling, and it's showing dividends finally. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I love when someone proves all the haters wrong.
So, we're going to flip back to last weekend. Like, how was last weekend against Huddersfield for you?
Oh, man. Sorry, closing the door. Last weekend, Huddersfield, like I said, man, they really they showed the blueprint of what you need to do to beat Manchester City. And that's just low block and try to counter. But it was a tough game. I mean, it's 2 games in a row that we've won kind of at the end, and I think you could easily say we probably deserved a draw. I was texting my buddy Jared Ross today and just really giving him a hard time because as a United fan, he's really upset with kind of the way things are going right now with them. And rightly so. I mean, I think he should be upset. That team has all the talent in the world. They're perfectly capable of playing incredibly beautiful attacking football. They're the most expensive squad in the world. Am I wrong on that? Like I know they've spent more than City has. I know because that's always a comparison. But just unbelievably expensive squad, should be playing incredible, beautiful football, and instead they're weighed down by who I think a manager that I think is extremely overhyped, and obviously I'm biased as a City fan, but I've never liked Mourinho. I didn't like him when he was at Chelsea. I wasn't watching before that, but man. Anyway, so I digress. Sorry about that, but I was texting Jared about basically the style and everything, and just how to beat City. And I think that blueprint was set down by Huddersfield.
Yeah, and you're talking about Jose Mourinho. Like, that's his mantra, win first or preservation of points. And, like, you take this conglomeration of players, like, capable of so many things, but he sets up in a way very defensively.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating, but it's like it's hard to argue with the results too at the same time.
Yeah.
Like maybe if he was my manager, maybe I could get on board with that. But I think it's pretty disgusting, and I don't know how long. I mean, as long as they're winning trophies, they won the Europa League final last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they qualified out of their group stage.
Yeah.
And they're in second place, I believe.
They are, yeah, in second place, 8 points behind City right now. I mean, and yeah, that's a decent gap, but that could go away easily.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about today.
Yeah. Tell me about your feelings about Liverpool right now, and kind of where y'all are at as a team.
So yeah, it's like the word is consistency. Like, where can we find that consistency? We're doing great things against small teams, but we were really lacking last year, putting them to bed, putting our foot on the throat. But then we're also doing really interesting things like letting teams come back in, from 3-0, the Seville game. That was, against Sevilla last week. That was going to be the hardest game of the group. So we go away and we score 3 goals.
Yeah.
And then we just let them ease back in the game, and it's on the set pieces. You just totally lose concentration. And I had this idea, like, who's at fault there? Is it the players or is it the manager? Like, who's not executing? And, there's really no way to answer that. But I have this resonating feeling about our team right now. You've got this goalkeeper. Sometimes he doesn't know when to come out. Sometimes he comes out inappropriately. He should have had a red card today. I'll talk about that. But then you have this, like, rotating center back partnership. You get Lovren in there, and then he loses his head. He's got all the qualities, and Matip's decent, but I mean, we have center backs who don't trust the goalkeeper, and then the goalkeeper who doesn't have a steady center back partnership in front of them to gain any consistency.
Yeah.
And then kind of at the same time, like the way we line up, very attacking, counterattack, like we don't do a holding midfielder. It's like a rotational, someone will stay back, but there's no Conte, there's no Matic, And I kind of look at those teams and the consistency that they have in there, that they're willing to put someone in front of the back four to protect them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, today against Stoke, go out, execute, get to rotate some players, start Solanke, give Salah a play on the bench. Like, I mean, we're seeing some consistency in the squad in that sense. We put them to bed 3-0 pretty comfortably. Away teams have been a problem in the past. And, yeah, I mean, Salah cannot stop scoring goals. Braces in back-to-back games. Like, what do you say about that? Top scorer in the Premier League right now.
Yeah.
And so, like, the thing with me I notice is it's always his positioning. Like, he's always in the right place for it.
He's also ice cold right now. Just ice in his veins right now, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's seeing the ball go in the back of the net by the time the ball is on his way. He hasn't even had his first touch, and I think he already is seeing the ball go in the back of the net. Like, he is so full of confidence right now. It is incredible.
It's everything, man.
Yeah.
And then that game he scored for us, scored the goal against Chelsea to go ahead. Of course, we couldn't hold on to the lead in that game. So I'll just kind of transition to that. We watched that game together. I mean, it was like a very vintage Chelsea performance. Like we're gonna, especially they're away at Anfield. We're gonna let you have the ball. We're gonna soak your pressure up, but they're gonna come in with this intermittent, very intense counter-attacking football, and you have Morata and Hazard combining with that lovely midfield. I mean, we played such a great game, but I told you about this quote I love so much this week that Liverpool snatched another draw from the jaws of victory. Like, that seems to be our mantra right now. It's like, I don't know, Williams' goal, it was kind of fluky, but it was also, right up there consistently with what we've been doing.
Yeah. Somehow finding a way not to win.
Yeah.
And it's got to be frustrating for someone who, has followed this team for so long, and you've seen the ups and downs. And, talk to me about that a little bit. Talk to me about your time as a Liverpool fan and, the years that you've seen and kind of where it started and where it is now.
Yeah, so, this is definitely close to a peak for me. I very, casually started watching. I was 13 or 14, and I just really liked Michael Owen. He had a cool name, and I loved watching him score goals. But I wasn't really paying that much attention to the squad. It was when, I want to say Houllier was fired, and Benitez took over the team in 2006, and, that very impractical run to the Champions League title, I was done. I was sold. That Istanbul night. And there was like this transition to selling our best players. The ownership was not good, and by the time I think 2000, I don't remember what year it was, but I mean, then we hit a rock bottom where we had Steven Gerrard playing in a midfield of Fulham players with Roy Hodgson as the coach.
Oof.
Like, it was rough, and then the period with Rodgers getting back into the top four, we were out of the top four for several years. And then him kind of bottoming out again, wasn't quite the caliber of manager to hold on that. The job was just too big for him. It's fine. I'm grateful for what he did for us. And like with Klopp, like I'm bought all in. Like we had these results against Tottenham and the consistency. But I mean, like give him all the time in the world. That's the quality manager.
Yeah.
And I think that's everything. Like it's been a while since I had that strong belief in a manager. Like I look back now and Suarez like kind of drug Rodgers and the team by the scruff of the neck to that second place finish.
Yep.
You get a player like that just every now and then.
Yeah, 100%. Talk to me a little more about Klopp, because it's been a really funny kind of ride with him where he came into the Premier League. He was everyone's favorite manager. Immediately, he was the media darling. He could do no wrong. He was Liverpool fans loved him. Neutral fans loved him. Everyone except Man United fans loved him from day one, And it seems like it's kind of changed a little bit lately. It seems like the lack of results and the lack of consistency, some of the shine has worn off, and I think some of the media are really going after him on some things that I see. What do you think?
I have this idea, like, where it all stems from. Like, despite what we've had with our team, like, we still lack a little bit of depth. Quality and depth, and that's really in the defense. And like my one complaint, criticism, whatever you want to call it, Klopp, and it's still very light. He doesn't do backup targets on transfers.
Yeah.
So all summer we go all in on Naby Keita, and we did end up signing him for next year. But then we go all in on Van Dijk, didn't get him, so we don't get a center back, and we don't get that like attacking midfielder we need.
Yeah.
Because Lallana goes injured. And then we're like kind of fitting pieces together. We're starting, 2 out of 3 midfielders that aren't very creative, and it kind of stifles us in the game.
Yeah.
So I think he has like this stubbornness. Like if he doesn't want to get his target, if he doesn't get the target he wants, like we're just not going to get it. And maybe there's like some frugal sense or something like that. But I mean, I believe it's his decision because Fenway Sports Group came out and said we have this much money to spend. And the last 3 transfer windows, he's not spent it. So there's a decision in there for him.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like, kind of my reflection in this is we lost to Tottenham 4-1 several weeks ago. And we lost to you guys. I mean, what was it, like 5-0?
Yeah. Although that score flatters us some, though.
Yeah, I can't quite remember the scenario in that.
There was a sending off. You guys, I don't remember what player it was. Who got sent off?
The goalkeeper.
Mane got sent. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. I remember that now. Dude, that was a big moment in the beginning of the year. Like that was a huge moment for the first, couple weeks of the year. Like I remember that clearly.
Yeah, so I felt this nosedive from that game. We were definitely in that
100% in that game.
That'll do that, but then we go lose 4-1 to Tottenham within the same 2 or 3 weeks. But then I kind of reflect on what he's done. He's gotten us battling with Chelsea, beating these teams we've historically struggled to beat, and now we're 1 point behind Tottenham to be in 4th place. So let me look at the table here before I
let's pull up the table real quick, and let's just talk down the table for a second, and then
I'm sorry, we're 2 points behind Arsenal to be in 4th place. Like I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, we're up on Tottenham now. Same team that beat us 4-1 several weeks ago.
Consistency, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Man, so many storylines, so many things to talk about. Do we want to go down the table and talk about it, or do we want to talk about today's games first? Let's talk about today's games first. How about that? And I think that'll lead us into the other conversation.
Okay.
So I want to give a plug real quick for some of our social media. We're just getting this started. So for everybody listening, there's not going to be there's not going to be anything on Anywhere You Go because this is our first episode. But we're Mike and Lebs across all social media. So Mike and Lebs on Twitter, Mike and Lebs Talk Football on Facebook, mikeandlebs@gmail.com. So yeah, anybody just like reach out to us and give us a shout and let us know what you want to hear on the next episode. But also, if you go to Mike and Lebs Talk Football on Facebook, I went in today and I found a really awesome YouTube channel that I don't know how long these videos will stay up due to copyright, but basically I put all of the highlights from today's games there on our Facebook page, so you can easily go and watch any of the highlights from all the games today on there. And I think that'd be cool if this could kind of become our own small community of our friends to talk about the highlights and like our own smaller version of Reddit, just on our own Facebook page.
Yes, sir. I'm down.
Yeah, but so I want to go through and just kind of go through these games today. So let's start with let's talk one little bit more about Liverpool-Stoke. I mean, 3-0, beating Stoke. Now, was that game at home for you guys, or was that an away game?
It was at the Britannica, so it's away. It's that old. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but can he do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke?
That's it. And boy,
Salah, he did it.
Mo Salah.
The brace was off the bench.
Incredible.
I need to correct myself. I said Salah had 2 back-to-back games with the brace. He scored 2 goals this game, a goal against Chelsea, and he scored 2 goals against Seville. So no, it wasn't back-to-back, but he's also got 5 goals in the last 3 games. So you're kind of
leading scorer in the Premier League right now, and looks absolutely unstoppable. Like Harry Kane, who?
That's it.
Oh, shout out Harrison Amburn. Oh, man. Dude, another thing I'm so excited about this. There's going to be so much smack talk on this podcast. Oh, my gosh. I can't wait. I can't wait to get other people on here and just get rowdy talking smack about these teams. It's going to be awesome.
So the Stoke game could have been very different. It was still 0-0, I believe. And Mignolet came out, rushing the ball, and took Diouf out. And if he had not challenged him, it would have been a walk-in into the goal, and he only got a yellow. So, I mean, very fortuitous there.
Oh, I saw that, dude. Oh, that was crazy. For you guys that haven't seen that, go and check the highlights. Very, very questionable decision to keep Mignolet on the pitch right there. I thought he could have easily been off because it looked like he missed the ball from my perspective. And I'm not rooting against Liverpool. I try to be as neutral as I can when I watch these things. And it really, I mean, what do you think? Like, do you think he should have stayed on the pitch?
No, that's a red card. That's the last man. Like, he's walking the ball in. So
yeah.
Sometimes you get the call. Sometimes you don't get them.
Yep.
And like that's like you just look at the headspace of Mignolet. So I mean, I want to say it was in the last 6 months. His girlfriend, fiance, wife came out, or no, she told him, and he came out and said that he is overthinking this, and that signifies everything in him. He'll have a game where he doesn't come out and get the ball at all, and then obviously someone talks to him because the next game he comes out for everything.
Yeah.
And then like he's coming out inappropriately. I mean, like there's an interesting topic. This should be a topic for another podcast, but like I'm just gonna plant this seed now. Like, what makes a good goalkeeper? And it's not just shot stopping anymore. We expect so much out of our goalkeepers with the feet and decision making. So let's just note that and come back on that. I think that'd be a really interesting podcast to like kind of compare like a top 10 of goalkeepers in the world and why we think one's better.
Definitely, I'm making that note right now. Yeah, that would be a great conversation. I'd love to have that. And there's so many good goalkeepers in the Premier League, and then De Gea, Lloris. Obviously Ederson. I don't think Mignolet makes that conversation, but it'd be fun. And then talking about the guys over in La Liga and in Bundesliga as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mignolet, great shot stopper, but you expect so much more than that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. I'm going to plug away at Everton for West Ham 0.
Yes, come on, let's hear it. I'm pumped. What a game, dude.
What a game. And you look at Everton, like, I mean, with their manager, like, so many promising things out of Ronald Koeman. And, like, what a great season they had last year, really.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not going to go into this, but I'll just say I think it's the hangover from losing Lukaku. Same thing with Liverpool. You don't invest that money into another great striker, and they struggled. And they play Sigurdsson out of position. He's their best player, and they don't play him centrally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got this caretaker manager. They've got Big Sam. Big Sam is the manager at Everton now.
It's crazy. As of today, breaking news. Big Sam is the manager at Everton Football Club. Can you believe it? How much money did Everton spend at the beginning of this year? And to think that they are at this point after all of the hype. Man, and this is something that we need to come on to at some point. You and I picked our top, what did we pick? Our top 7 at the beginning of the year? We picked them. We picked them, and we've got them saved. And I think I had Everton in my top 7.
Ooh, I don't think I did.
Well, you're a smarter man than I did, but I bought into the hype 100%.
That's going to be fun looking back on that, because it wasn't City I had on top. I remember who I had on top, but I'll let that come back.
Okay.
And then, I don't have much else to say besides Rooney.
Yep.
Class is permanent, scores from beyond the halfway line, like the precision in that. The dude does not get enough respect, and he's one of England's greatest of all time, one of Manchester United's greatest players of all time, but he gets this general slag, and I don't get it.
Maybe he's too relatable. Why is Ronaldo considered so godly? It's because he's one of the most unrelatable people in the entire world. He's a demigod. Shout out Harrison Amber one more time for the biggest man crush I've ever seen in my life. Harrison Amber is in love with Cristiano Ronaldo, and I can't even blame him. I mean, the man, he can get every girl he wants. He has all the money in the world. He's more talented than you, me, and all our friends combined. And he is one of the most clutch players I've ever seen in my entire life. Now look at Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney couldn't steal your girlfriend or your wife or whoever it is. Wayne Rooney probably smokes cigarettes. I mean, I don't even know this, but I guarantee you when Wayne Rooney gets drunk, he's just ripping some cigs. How many DUIs has Wayne Rooney had? How many? I don't know. At least one.
What?
How many DUIs has Wayne Rooney had?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many times has he been caught?
Right. Yeah, not how many times has he gotten punished. How many times has he gotten caught? But no, and even as a City fan who, the real City fans in England would crucify me and call me a plastic, which is fine. I don't care. I'm an American City fan. I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm going to try to be as unbiased as I can. I like Wayne Rooney as a player. I respect him. I remember I was watching him play in one of the derbies. I was watching it with my good buddy Dalton Miller, and he got injured. He got a cut on his head because he got elbowed, or Suarez ran on the pitch and bit him or something, I don't know. And he goes over to the sideline, and they put staples in his head on the sideline, just straight into his scalp, and then he went back on the pitch and played the rest of the game. I mean, the guy is just made of steel, and that goal he had today, I hope that goal is that should go on his tombstone. You know what I'm saying? He's had so many incredible overhead kick goals, bicycle kick goals, and then that goal today, just like you said, class is permanent, man. Unbelievable. Also, one more note on that game. The weirdness of the caretaker manager and then Big Sam sitting there in the crowd just with a ear-to-ear grin on his face. That was a weird moment. And I wish we had more Everton fan friends to have on, but Kaysen's going to have to come on pretty soon onto the show and talk to us about how he feels about the whole thing, because what a roller coaster.
Yeah, there's always this lift that follows right after you kind of fire a manager that's lost the dressing room.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's another interesting talk. I mean, unproven managers don't get as much of a chance as they used to.
Mm.
And so you're talking about that caretaker manager, maybe he could have done something with it. I mean, he's been with that team for a while. He's coached the reserves. I only know this because of Kaysen. Shout out.
Keep going, Mike. Was there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it was very awkward looking at that. Sam looked so smug.
Yeah.
With that win. I'm interested to see what he can do. He did some interesting things with Palace and decided to leave for the England job. And I don't know. Like, there were some talks about him coaching the U.S. national team.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe I would have taken that because he's ugly, but
Yeah.
it's effective, but he's ugly.
Yeah.
When you made a comment about Everton, they spent like 140 million pounds. I mean, like, look where they are now.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, we would just like to survive this season.
Right. Like, so let's go back to the table real quick. So, 20 teams in the Premier League. Right now, at the bottom of the table, you've got Crystal Palace, Swansea, and West Ham, and I'm excited to get to the West Ham game because I've got a bunch of things I want to talk about with that. But you've got those guys in the relegation zone right now, and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots above relegation are 140 pound spending Everton Football Club with one of the most expensive squads ever assembled in the Premier League, and yet until today it looked like they couldn't win a game to save their lives.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is about manager motivation. You can put these groups of quality players together.
Yeah.
You're talking that bottom three. I only had one team in there from there, and I think it's going to be Swansea. I think Swansea will be relegated. That's my. I'll take that.
Yeah. They probably should have gone down last year.
What's your big surprise in the table? Give me two big surprises. I want a big surprise. Who's up top? I want to get a surprise. Who's near the bottom that you're...
For me, this is easy. Yeah, that's actually easy. I've thought about this several times. The biggest surprise up top and something I was looking forward to talking about is Burnley. What the heck is going on at Burnley Football Club? What are they doing sitting in 6th place ahead of freaking Tottenham Hotspurs in the table? Who would have predicted this? Do you know anybody that would have predicted this? Because I don't.
I would not have predicted it, but it's a team. Like, I've listened to a podcast. I listened to the Anfield Wrap. There's a plug right there. Awesome podcast.
Yeah.
And they brought a Burnley fan on, and it's like, those players, they love Sean Dyche. They know what they're good at. They don't change it team to team. They do their thing, and they're very focused.
Yeah.
And it's, like, very akin to, like, Bournemouth for me. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so where's Bournemouth in the table right now?
15th.
Yeah, so, I mean, Burnley's definitely... I mean, it's a consistency in clubs that stick with managers, and they stick with this idea of how they're going to play. Yeah, I don't know. Like, no, did not predict Burnley up there. Not a chance.
Yeah. Who would your team be that you're surprised to see how high they are?
Still pretty early. Honestly, I'll say this. Like, I knew Man City would be in the top 4. I didn't know it would be a runaway. Like, I looked at Manchester United's squad, and I look at how they supplemented. And when they bought Lukaku, I'm like, that's it. Like, okay, there's the Premier League right there.
Yeah.
But it's Mourinho sucking the life out of football again.
Once again.
And City had this click. Like, over the summer, over this past season, whatever it was, they clicked. And they get it now. Like, this is what Pep wants us to do. And it's very hard to match because you're not... I mean, you can shut down De Bruyne, but you're trying... Like, you got to shut down a philosophy.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to play against.
If you shut down... Like, going back to the Huddersfield game and to the Southampton game today, both teams did the same thing. And you could tell that Saints manager Mauricio, I think it's Mauricio Pellegrino, or
You're right, yes.
You can tell he watched City struggle against Huddersfield last week, and so he said, we're just going to do the exact same thing. So they put 11 men behind the ball, they man-marked, and shout out to another podcast that I listened to, the Noisy Neighbors podcast out of Dallas, Texas, the number 1 most popular City podcast in America. Those guys are incredible, so I hope one day maybe they get to hear this show. But man, they were talking today about what you can do is you can put 11 men behind the ball. You can man mark whoever our 2 central midfielders are. So probably Bald Dave, David Silva, or Kevin, the Ginger Messi De Bruyne. You can man mark them and take them out of the game, and that will hurt City some. But the thing is, the Guardiola machine is going to roll on. Like, if you cut off Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva, all you're doing is giving more space to Raheem Sterling, Leroy Sané, Kun Aguero, Gabriel Jesus. Like, I mean, listen to that list of names. You can't stop it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You can sit back and you can absorb and you can absorb and you can absorb, and we're gonna find a way through almost every single time. But let's talk about a little bit about who we're surprised to be down at the bottom of the table right now, and for me that's also a really easy one. This was another, just to show how little I know about football. I had Crystal Palace slated to be really good this year. I've got my friend Dalton Miller is a big Crystal Palace fan. It's his second team. Of course, you got to have a second team, right? You know, can't just have your first team. You got to have a second team to root for. Crystal Palace is his second team, and I really like Crystal Palace because I like Wilfried Zaha so much. Zaha is an absolute stud, and Crystal Palace hurt so bad this year when you could tell when he was out, they were struggling. And I think that's part of the reason why they're sitting last in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, man, I can't disagree with you. That's my pick. Like, I mean, I look at their team, I look at their players. Zaha, Benteke, Sako, Kabai, Townsend, Puncheon. Like, I mean, this is a good squad.
Yeah.
But I look at, like, I still... Roy Hodgson, he's coached a Europa League final. He's done a lot of things. My friend Grant would not like what I'm saying right now, but, like, I just don't... I think he's old school, man.
Yeah.
I think he's too old school to keep up with the Premier League at this point. And, you know, I know he's just now getting his turnaround as the manager, but, I mean, they're in last place. Like, he's going to have to produce by Christmas, or they're going to sack him.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, with the squad of players, like, it's just... Yeah, I'm shocked.
Here's what's really funny, and I love this debate, and this is something I was listening to the other day. The revolving door, if you will, or the merry-go-round of Premier League managers. How do we just see the same guys come back every year? Big Sam, case in point. How does this man have a job every single year? And it happens the same way, and everyone knows it's going to happen. And yet, everyone just goes along with it. Like, oh, here he is, Big Sam, coming in once again. He's going to save Everton from relegation. And he's going to do it. He's going to do it. We all know he's going to do it.
It's just... I see it in Italy too. They recycle these managers that like seemingly do terrible, or they get this poor run of form. Like you talk about Big Sam. I look at Alan Pardew. Like yeah. West Brom just hired him. But I don't know if it's this idea of like you don't want to bring a guy in and they have to get this adjustment to the Premier League. Like the Premier League's rough. Like one week, first place may very well lose to 16th place. Yeah. And that's not the case in other leagues. So I don't know. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. We can sit here and name names all day. Big Sam, Roy Hodgson, Tony Pulis. You know, I mean, how many other guys? I know you can name other people. Like they're just these managers that just cycle, and we see the same guys every year, and they do the same things, and yet somehow it's the Brits. I think that's what it is. It's the Brits. Shout out to the Brits. Thank you for inventing the greatest sport in the world, but you do not own the monopoly on this sport. And that's another reason why I want to do this podcast. I want to throw shade on those guys so bad because they are so arrogant. I've gotten called a plastic online, and there is nothing that makes my blood boil more than getting called a plastic. Oh, I can't stand it.
We gotta carve our niche. You gotta be knowledgeable and keep pushing.
Yeah.
I can resonate with that feeling though.
Yeah.
I want to know. Man, we're jumping around a lot, but I want to know your Champions League top 3.
Okay. It's difficult for me to have this conversation without being biased. I really don't want to be biased, and that's part of, and I'm sure people who, if the show keeps going and people actually listen to it, I'm sure they're going to get sick of hearing me talk about that I don't want to be biased. I want to try to be objective, but it's really difficult because I watch City play week in and week out. I follow all of the teams in the world as closely as I can. I follow PSG, I follow Barca, I keep up with Real, I keep up with Juventus, I keep up with AC Milan. Speaking of another team super underperforming, AC Milan, oh my gosh. I don't know how many of people out there pay attention to Serie A in Italy, but talk about a team spending money and not being very good. But anyway, so they based on money spent, AC Milan should be one of the top teams in the world right now. But that definitely hasn't worked out. But I see your three that you put here, and I mean it's obviously I think PSG and City have to be up there. You know, it'd be tough to argue who's better out of those two. I think PSG scored more goals, but they also play in a league that's an absolute joke. So, I mean, you can't really, it's not apples to apples, it's apples to oranges. As far as who the third best team in the world is, I don't know. That's super debatable. Why don't you give your argument for the third best team in the world and let me think about it for a second?
So, I had this internal urge. I look historically, and I want to say Real Madrid, but they're in a slump right now, so that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, like, the team's playing the best football, and that scare me. Like, PSG scares me.
Yeah.
The ways they can score goals, the way Neymar and Cavani have gelled, and he just maneuvers in and out of those players. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you forget about players like Di Maria.
Yeah.
And
he hasn't been on my radar in a long time.
I'm going to say PSG. And if I had to rank them, I would. Gosh, I'm going to kill you right now. I'm going to say PSG is my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick City in there very close behind, and then Barca in the mix, just because I've seen Bayern's inconsistency. They got wiped pretty clean by PSG, but I mean they've fired Ancelotti since. So, I mean, let's see what their old manager can do. But I'm gonna say those three. I'm gonna stick Barca in there just because of the consistency with Messi.
Yeah. I don't know if I can come up with a third one different than Barca. I'm sitting here, I'm racking my brain, I'm trying to think of a third team. I mean, when you look up and down the Premier League, you know I'll say this. I'll give a shout out to a team that has actually struggled historically in the Champions League, but I'm gonna give them a shot this year. I think Spurs actually could do something in the Champions League this year. They've had good form in the Champions League. Now they've had a little run of bad form here recently, and that's another big problem on that team. If Harry Kane's not scoring, who's scoring? I know in previous years people would say Dele Alli, people would say, God, what is their? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. What is their midfielder who's so stinking incredible? Just Kevin De Bruyne-esque pinpoint passing. What is it? I'm totally blanking. Harrison's gonna kill me.
Christian Eriksen.
Thank you, Eriksen. Thank you.
Look what they did with that group. That was very much group Real Madrid, Tottenham, and Dortmund.
Yeah. I called Spurs not to make it out of the group. I said Spurs will not make it out of this group, and boy, they proved me wrong.
They won their group.
Yeah.
They beat Madrid. They beat Dortmund on both legs.
Yeah.
And they've taken care of this other team, Well, of course, I don't know anything about this team, but I mean, they were the first team to qualify for the group stage.
Wow.
Okay, I can get down with Spurs as a dark horse. That'd be interesting. I mean, despite like any team I don't like in the Premier League, I want English teams to win.
Yeah.
There's been a big off-kilter balance with that.
Yeah. And I do think that the Premier League is the best league in the world. I mean, I know it's the league that I watch the most, but if you go top to bottom, I really think it's the most competitive league in the world. I'd like to hear Russell Frank's argument against that. He might try to convince me or convince us that La Liga is better, but I don't know, man. It's tough to say that the Prem isn't where it's at. Well, what else do we need to talk about? We're at 48 minutes right now. I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Were there any games from today that we haven't talked about yet that we want to go through? I want to talk about.
I don't have to go over the game, but I got to mention Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, you talk about that one, and then I'm going to talk about Arsenal. So you talk about that one first.
Yeah, Mesut, man, you got to give Mesut the plug. 2 assists and a goal.
My
Gosh.
Goodness gracious. Anyway, yeah, talk about Leicester.
So I mean, like what's going on at Leicester? Like I mean, they're dogs. Like they fight like dogs in every game that they go into.
Yep.
I need to take a look and see where they are in the Premier League right now.
They are in 9th place, right behind Watford, and just ahead of, shockingly, Brighton, who I had called to go down and are once again showing I know nothing about football.
Jamie Vardy's goal, the pass, the ball coming over the edge of his shoulder, and the chip over Lloris. Like I mean, that is a world-class goal.
Dear Lord.
And I mean, to beat Tottenham, I don't know. Like, I read an article today. Tottenham is distracted by the Champions League. Like, I mean, are they going to fall out of the top four? They're 4 points back. It's still pretty premature. Like, I mean, maybe we should reassess the table at New Year's.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and then Mahrez, like, so much talk of him in and out of being sold and not being sold, and I see him kind of like as a selfish player sometimes, but comes up with a beautiful goal, and Leicester just kind of dogged it out and held Tottenham off.
Yeah. They make me miserable playing against them. They make me want to just put my head through the wall because they play so dirty. They really do. And I try not to get onto teams for playing rough and tumble because, you know, everyone knows that the Premier League is famous for being the roughest league in the world. And so, you know, and Brits, boy, they prize it's the toughest league in the world. It's the most physical league in the world. Boy, if you come into the Premier League, you better be ready. You know, and it's like, okay, guys, we get it. But then you see a team like Leicester play a, you know, team like my Manchester City Blues and just basically try to kick them off the pitch every single time. And they give us just fits every time we play them. And Jamie Vardy, last year when they beat us, what did they beat Manchester City? 5-0 or 5-1? Or let me look that up real quick. I was about ready to cry that game. I mean, that was terrible. And they destroyed us within 5 minutes. I think we were down 3-0.
So this will be my wrap-up question.
Yeah.
This is my wrap-up. The question was going to be, have City already won the league? Like, no, that's not. I mean, there's no way to know. Will City win the league? I don't actually believe. Man, this is a bold prediction. I don't think they'll drop out of first place.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Being a biased fan?
Yeah, I can't. I mean, in the biggest attempt to be unbiased as I can, I just don't see how do we drop out of first place. And I can give very specific reasons. The number one reason we're not going to drop out of first place is because Pep Guardiola is insane. He's a maniac. He's a madman. He's out of his mind. He's absolutely out of his mind, and I don't think anyone would argue against that. He is fanatical about winning. He's fanatical about his system and about his machine. And last week, I think it was last week, one of the reporters asked him, "Are you concerned about complacency in your team?" And he laughed and said, "No, I'm not concerned about complacency because you know what? If my players get complacent, I'll kill them." And he said it with a grin on his face, but I got kind of scared. Like, I was like, oh, Pep, like, you might be serious here, you know? So that's the number one reason. The number two reason why we will not fall out of first place is our depth is unrivaled. There's no team except maybe Manchester United with the depth that we have. If you look at Manchester City and Manchester United, the depth that those two clubs have is unbelievable. The amount of talent sitting on their bench any given game is good enough to beat any starting team in most starting teams around the world. It's unbelievable. And then the third reason is just because I feel like this is our year. If Pep doesn't win it this year, next year is going to be an absolute nightmare for him. I mean, this is a legacy-defining year for him. Everything's going great. If he does not win the Premier League this year, he's going to be called a fraud, and it's going to have real merit for once because people love calling Pep a bald fraud. That's one of the favorite things that people like to say about him. And if he doesn't win the Premier League, I think it might be a little bit justified.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think they'll win the Premier League. I bought into I'm drinking the Pep Kool-Aid. I mean, historically, I didn't like Barca. I didn't like him because I saw him as a manager who just went where the money was. But I mean, he's also shown me he's doing things with players that other managers couldn't do, and he's turning City into like a European powerhouse. So I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah. Man, this was good. We're at 54 minutes right now. I mean, I think we got to wrap it up. I need to give you a wrap-up question. Let me think. Let me ask you this then for wrap-up question. Where will Liverpool end up in the table at the end of the year?
I feel confident, and I can rationalize this answer. I'm going to say fourth place. I think we'll push Arsenal out, and I think we'll finish fourth place.
I like it. And why do you believe that?
I'm hoping Klopp learned some lessons this past, when it'll be 4 or 5 months when the January transfer window comes up. We can reinforce where we need a little bit of help. We've got depth previously where we hadn't had it. We just need to reinforce our back four. I don't know, it's like very good attacking scheming if we can shore up our defense. I feel pretty confident we'll stay in the top four.
Yeah.
Not as confident as you with your answer, but that's my belief.
Yeah.
I'm interested. We're going to send this out to a group of guys, and I want give us feedback. We're down to make this work, make this interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thank you. That's a perfect segue into what I was wanting to talk about. Yeah, I just want to give a pleading request to all of our friends that we're going to send this to. Please interact with us. Please text us. Please tweet to us. I don't know how much all of you guys use Twitter. I'm not a Twitter connoisseur by any means, but I feel like Twitter is a really good forum for us to do this because it's something that everybody can easily get on and shout directly at us very easily. But Facebook also can be that thing. And of course, everyone feel free to message us privately as well, text or whatever. But yeah, let's get some interactions going and let's figure out what we're going to do with this thing. It can become anything we want. I know we're again out of time, but in future podcasts, I want to talk about music. I want to talk about, we were talking about, what else did you want to talk about in addition? I know we've got one last thing. I want to do Music Corner every single episode. And so the Music Corner for this week, and I want Music Corner to be a time where we literally just talk about music that we are listening to right now and that we love. And I want it to be surprising as much as we can. And because if there's one thing that I love about you, and there's one thing that I'm very big on myself, is not being predictable. And so I want to talk about my album that currently is on rotation that I've been listening to for 2 weeks straight now, nonstop, and that's Harry Styles. I never thought I would be repping Harry Styles to people, but Harry Styles' new album is fantastic, and I would highly recommend it to anybody.
Do you have a version? You're obviously very cultured with music. You can play a lot of instruments. Do you have an aversion to mainstream artists? Is that where that resistance came from initially? Okay,
yes,
sure.
Yes. And he's so... I just cannot stand anything in life where everyone is giving so much hype. When there's a ton of hype on something, I immediately dislike it. Just because it's hyped. And, the way that people act about Harry Styles, and by people I mean women, incurs a large amount of jealousy probably. And, it's just like... So many things can get overhyped for no reason, but Harry Styles' hype about his music is legitimate, and so I definitely encourage people to go check it out. But how about you, Mike? So I know you've got somebody that you were sharing with me the other day. Is that who you wanted to talk about, or do you have someone else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to roll on this. It's an album I've been listening to probably for 3 weeks. Found him on my Discover Weekly on... good grief, why can't I think of the app?
On Spotify?
Yeah, Spotify. Good grief. Yeah, it's this artist named Henry Jameson. He's got one album out that I see, The Rains. I follow him on Instagram, follow him on Twitter. And I got a lot of followers. You look up his concerts, it's not super mainstream. He's like my favorite artist, Ben Howard, Henry Jameson right now. It's all about the writing and the acoustics.
Yeah.
I recommend anyone and everyone listening to this, Jess, you're going to laugh at me, but go check out The Rain. She knows I listen to it all the time.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much, man. We're right at an hour. We've covered a ton of stuff today. We didn't get to talk about Arsenal, but, again, shout out Mesut Ozil. Finally,
shout out Mesut.
Shout out Mesut Ozil. Shout out Alexis Sanchez. Can't wait to see you in Sky Blue, buddy. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait. Oh, man. But this has been good. Well, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully, just please give us a tweet or a like or something, and let's get this going, man. So this has been Mike and Lebs Talk Football, and man, hope to do it again soon.
I'm out.
All
See
right.
you guys soon.
Adios.